So huge update to the Rekieta story. He went live last night and spoke to his locals fans, basically just giving them an update where he's been. He's been basically MIA from the internet in a live streaming sense since he was arrested. Obviously, he's been around on the internet, talking to people, responding to people, DMing people. But this is the first time he's shown up on live stream in person where we can see his face, see him talk since the arrest. So we got some good clips. He addresses the Sonichu Medallion. He essentially says that everyone who thinks he might be guilty is a bootlicker F-slur. So dude is just completely all out, doubling down on everything. He is completely 100% innocent. And we're going to watch those clips. But first, real quick, I want to read these DMs that got leaked. I talked about these in my last video on Rekieta, which was a minute ago, but they actually got leaked like just a bit over a week ago. But it's relevant to what we're going to watch. So I just want to read these DMs. And this was sent from Rekieta to a group chat with a whole bunch of different like legal tubers, YouTubers, other people in there. He started talking about his case. It starts off with Rekieta saying, "Cool. I'm literally talking about a bullshit neglect report from a specifically vindictive person that is quite literally the opposite of truth. I'm not talking about anything else at all. I'm not saying anything else in here. Talk to me in DMs." And so we're already off to an interesting start, immediately talking about other people that are possibly involved in this case, saying that they're vindictive assholes pretty much. And he would have had a good finish here if he did continue to not saying anything else in these group chats, but he couldn't help himself, I guess, so he continued to talk. And if you're not caught up at all with the Rekieta story, he's talking about how someone reported that his kids told them that they were hungry and that they would wear the same clothes for multiple days at a time, causing them to smell bad. And that was reported and written on the case that was used to justify the warrant on Nick's home. One of the few things that was used to justify it. But then he continues on saying, "Oh, and no guns were ever discharged in this home. I don't even own a .22. I haven't fired any of my guns since moving from my other home to here. It's been about 5 years, and all of them were locked. Handguns in a safe. AR had a lock through the receiver." And he's referencing that news reported that when he was arrested, the authorities said that there was spent shell casing on the bedroom floor, and that there was additional firearms and ammunition in the garage, unless he means that his safe was in the garage, like that's where he kept it. This does kind of imply that it was just like sitting in there in the garage, just like loose. Maybe that's what he's trying to clarify, that it wasn't loose. And I'm trying to be completely fair. I mean, look, honestly, I don't think I'm 100% on Rekieta's side on this. There could be things that are lies in this. It's possible. It's not like it's impossible that there could be lies involving this story. But obviously it did appear that he was on cocaine on stream. That was pretty blatant. And they found a fuckload of it, and he's also been living with the other woman, the wife of Steel Toe. And so it is entirely possible that this just became a degenerate just household of just mess and destruction. It's possible there's child neglect, especially if it was reported. So I try to be unbiased when I'm talking about this, but sometimes it gets harder every time I talk about it because it's just bad. He continues saying, "My dad was helping with the driving the other day for our kids' education and extracurricular activities. He tallied it up. 80 miles a day on average. I don't care what people think about almost anything. The kid shit is bullshit. I'm pretty sure I know who reported that, and they have specific animus towards me. The first activity I missed for my kids was the day I was in jail." See, he's just completely denying the allegations, saying that it is someone who's vindictive against him, which again, I guess could theoretically be possible, but that would obviously also be his out, saying that the person who is reporting it is just out to get him. It also makes you wonder, like, what is Nick doing to these people that makes them want to be extremely vindictive against him? So much so to the point that they're willing to fake a report of abuse on his children. Like that, to me, it is a pretty extreme allegation on both sides. It's extreme for the person if they're lying to make up that allegation. And it's also extreme for Nick to say, hey, this person doesn't like me so much, he's willing to falsely report that my children are hungry. And this person is assuming someone just at a church, it's just a teacher, it's not some family member, it's not someone who maybe he owes a lot of money to, it's not someone who he has like an extremely close connection to my knowledge. Maybe he does, but this is someone who is just a teacher at a preschool or at a church, I believe is what it was. And so it's weird to imply that this person must have some sort of like really extreme, just like desire to fuck Nick over. It's like, what is their relationship like to that extent then? You know, that's just what I question. But it's not, like I said, it's not impossible, but it's just, I don't know. It's hard to believe that it's just someone who's extremely vindictive like that. Shockingly, not pulled over, not cited for a DUI ever, never even questioned for DUI ever. Anyway, whatever issues exist for me, and I'm not admitting to shit during my case, obviously, I figured a friend of mine would maybe realize that my children have never been neglected or in danger, but I guess that small courtesy is too much. Again, it's like, well, sure, but then once someone who is close with the children is reporting it, then it's obviously going to come to question like, is this real? Why is this person reporting it? Why would they lie? Like, what is your relationship like? He hasn't described anything about their relationship. I mean, he's keeping his mouth shut about that, but he's talking about a lot of other stuff. Like, I'd want to hear, why do you think this person doesn't like you so much that they would make up this lie about you? And then someone says, is that driving blasted out of your mind like the report says? And Nick replies, no, you fucking idiot. No one sees me drive. Then this person says, I know, it's hard to see someone when they're driving 88 miles per hour 4 hours after a bender. Rekieta responds, again, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you referring to a speeding ticket? And I guess that was the end of that conversation. We kind of jumped to something else here. But it continues where Nick Rekieta says, do you know what track marks are? Retard. I've never done an IV drug in my life. This person responds, you're doing cocaine at 8 a.m. with your kids watching cartoons in the living room. And Rekieta responds, what the fuck are you talking about? 8 a.m., homie, I'm usually driving home at 8 a.m. and about to go to sleep. And this is iconic. He says, if you think my kids ever went hungry or were neglected, kill yourself. Which is an interesting response to the allegations, I suppose. I mean, if he's innocent, then sure, I would say that's a valid response, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to buy. And then it continues here. The person says, I don't know what to believe. You've become a junkie, and they're not the most honest people out there, which is very true. Rekieta says, I've been on stream with you where you were too intoxicated to read super chats for hours. I never thought your kids went hungry. Yeah, but just being intoxicated alone is not why people are accusing you of that, Rekieta. That doesn't make any sense. It's not just because Nick Rekieta allegedly did cocaine on stream. That's the sole reason why his kids are neglected. That's not what people are talking about. They're saying that they're neglected because a teacher from the place where your kids go, I'm assuming church, reported to someone that they were hungry, and they were talking about being hungry, and they were talking about smelling bad and wearing the same clothes. That's why people are saying that, not because you were intoxicated. The intoxication part is another additional part of it, but that doesn't even make any sense. I stopped that because it was getting bad. You need to admit you have a problem. And then Rekieta's response is, become a junkie. Wow. All right. Thanks, Flash. Which I guess reveals that this anonymous person is Yellow Flash. And so his response to being called out for the truth, which is that he has a fuckload of cocaine and he might have a problem with drugs, is just saying, wow, thanks, man. No accountability, no acknowledging anything at all. He's just completely and totally stuck to this and refuses to back down in any way, shape, or form, which is very strange, but it's the way he's handling it, I guess. And it gets even worse, because now we can jump to the live streams, which again, he did this last night on Locals, where he was talking to his Locals fans. It's like a paid service, a monthly paid service, I believe. So he did a live stream just to his fans. Obviously, people recorded it, and so we have snippets of it. And he declares that anyone who could possibly think that he's guilty is a bootlicking F-slur. Just watch this clip. I'm going to play it uninterrupted. Have at it, Nick.
The amount of bootlicking out there who are like, the government said. All right. And by the way, bootlicking includes a bunch of lawyers who at every other time will tell you, oh, you can't trust the government, you can't trust the narrative. And now they're like, oh man, look what they said. Look what the government said here. And they're like just so happy about it. You can always find someone's true colors when they have the opportunity to stand by what they say. And they don't.
So I guess every single person involved in this entire situation is a liar. No one is honest except for Nick Rekieta himself. And it's so funny to me that he talks about like the government as if that's what people are questioning here, is whether the government is telling the truth or not. I said this in my very, very first video that like, yeah, cops do lie sometimes, and that is true. I have a view on cops where I love the police, I respect the police, I've never been a defund the police kind of guy. But even with that, there's plenty of instances of cops just completely abusing their powers, taking advantage of ignorant people, stretching the law in like light instances, and even in extreme instances, just getting violent when absolutely unnecessary. So even if you're someone who generally is just a general supporter of the police, it is objectively true that there are plenty of bad apples when it comes to police. I follow this YouTuber Long Island Audits, and he really just kind of shows the way the police can sometimes be. However, there's not really any indication of what exactly the cops and the government is lying about. Because he keeps saying that the people who reported this stuff about his kids, they're not cops, it's a teacher. It was a local community member that signed a sworn affidavit about what they saw and what they heard. And it was also allegedly from his children's statements to those community members. So this idea that it's just the government and the cops saying what they're saying is not true. I'm all for a good case of like, hey, it's possible there's some police corruption here. Hey, shit, I'll fucking support that, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about police corruption. You're just in the wrong objective. That's not what people are talking about. And on top of it, you can just use your eyes and watch the stream itself when Nick comes out with the white powder substance on his nose. I mean, it's painfully obvious what's happening. Obviously, of course, now I have to say allegedly because he's going to probably try to say that the white powder substance was something else and that the search warrant was unconstitutional. Therefore, all the cocaine shit can be dismissed and blah, blah, blah. That's going to be his argument in the case. So I have to say allegedly because he's probably going to deny that white powder is cocaine. But anyway, I don't think it makes you a bootlicker to say that there's a possibility that there are multiple individuals involved in this, all throughout different sections, including yourself, who have made this story come to light. Not the government, not the cops. That's not what we're talking about. But lastly, I want to end it off with this final clip where he talks about the Sonichu Medallion, and he says he still has it while looking a little bit scared in his eyes. And then he talks about how he's going to prove that he's sober every stream by standing up. So let's watch this clip.
Please comment on the status of Sonichu Medallion. It's still here. It's still here. One of the other major changes I'm doing is I will be standing for the show, even down in my office. We're going to switch to a standing show rather than sitting down. I think that's a big part of doing the show and keeping my energy level up and keeping the show length actually at a reasonable pace rather than going to like 6-7 hours of shows or whatever. Like I have done, I know I haven't done a lot of those recently, but by standing up, you know, it keeps me active and moving. It keeps me in my sort of natural talking element. I don't like talking sitting down. I do it on the show or did it on the show because I had to. So I'll be doing standing streams.
But anyway, that's all I really got to say about this. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.